The Station Omega marketplace hummed with the usual cacophony of 1,000 species bartering, haggling, and threatening in languages that turned the universal translators into useless static generators. Arya Voss moved through the crowd like a shadow with purpose, her weathered jacket concealing enough weapons to start a small war. Though she preferred not to advertise that fact, she wasn't here for trouble. She was here for information. The tip had come from a Vex informant 3 cycles ago. Illegal genetic trafficking ring, specializing in younglings from protected species. The kind of operation that made even hardened criminals uncomfortable. The kind that made Arya's blood boil. She spotted the exchange from across the plaza, a Kryn trafficker, his forearms gesticulating wildly as he negotiated with a hooded figure. But it wasn't the adults that caught her attention. It was the small cage half hidden behind a stack of cargo containers, and the tiny form inside it. The cub couldn't have been more than 3 standard years old. Tufted ears pressed flat against a head too large for its malnourished body. Golden eyes wide with terror. Kiro. She'd seen the missing person report on every underground channel she monitored. The offspring of a Felinar ambassador, vanished from a diplomatic vessel 2 months prior. Arya's jaw tightened. The Kryn Vexthar, according to her intel, was a mountain of muscle and arrogance, standing nearly 8 feet tall, with chitinous armor plating that could deflect most small arms fire. He had a reputation for brutality that preceded him across 3 sectors. 27 confirmed kills, twice that in disappeared victims. She watched as he reached into the cage with one massive hand, grabbing Kiro by the scruff of the neck. The cub let out a terrified yowl that cut through the marketplace noise like a blade. Arya was moving before she consciously decided to move. "That's not yours," she said, her voice carrying just enough edge to cut through the dealer's pitch. Vex's Thar turned, all 4 eyes focusing on this interruption. His mandibles clicked with amusement. "Human. You are far from home, little primate. This does not concern you. I'm making it my concern." Arya's stance shifted, weight balanced, ready. Put the cub down. The marketplace had gone quiet in their immediate vicinity. Crowds parted. Everyone knew what was about to happen, and nobody wanted to be in the splash zone. Vexthar laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. "Do you know who I am? I have broken stronger species than yours with my..." Arya moved. She closed the distance in 3 strides, her right hand snapping out to grab his wrist, the one holding Kiro. The Kryn's eyes widened in surprise at her speed, but before he could react, she'd already committed. Her left hand found the pressure point just above his elbow joint, that weak spot where the chitin plates separated. She drove her knee up into his arm at the same moment she wrenched the wrist downward with every ounce of strength her augmented muscles could generate. The crack echoed across the plaza like a gunshot. Vex's Thar's howl of agony was almost drowned out by the sound of his exoskeleton splintering. His hand spasmed open reflexively, and Arya caught Kiro with her free arm before the cub could hit the ground. She stepped back, cradling the trembling youngster against her chest with one arm, while Vexthar collapsed to his knees, his shattered arm hanging at an impossible angle. The trafficker's other 3 arms clutched at the ruined limb, his breathing ragged with shock and pain. Purple ichor leaked from the compound fracture, pooling on the station's deck plating. Arya looked down at him dispassionately. "That was your grabbing arm," she said, her voice conversational despite the violence that had just transpired. "Now here's an important question." She shifted Kiro to her other arm. The cub had stopped shaking and was now staring at her with those enormous golden eyes, and crouched down to Vexthar's level. "Are you right-handed or left-handed? Because I need to know which arm you use to sign sales contracts, transfer credits, and generally conduct your disgusting business." Her smile was colder than void space. "Want to guess why?" Vexthar's mandibles clicked rapidly. His equivalent of hyperventilation. You cannot. I am protected. The consortium abandoned you the moment you grabbed that cub," Arya interrupted. "Station records show everything. Self-defense. Protection of a minor. The law is very clear on this. Even in places as lawless as Omega." She tilted her head. "So, right or left?" The trafficker's remaining 3 arms trembled. "Left," he gasped. I am left dominant. Wrong answer, Arya said pleasantly, and then her hand shot out again. The second crack was, if anything, more satisfying than the first. Vexthar collapsed completely, his agonized screams finally attracting station security. Not that they'd been in any hurry, everyone knew what he was, and nobody shed tears for traffickers. Arya stood, adjusting Kiro in her arms. The cub had buried their face against her shoulder, tiny claws gripping her jacket. She could feel the rapid flutter of the youngster's heartbeat beginning to slow. It's okay, she murmured, her voice gentle in a way that would have shocked anyone who'd witnessed the last 2 minutes. You're safe now. I'm taking you home. A Felinar security officer pushed through the crowd, his own ears pinned back in distress. Is that Ambassador Velinor's child? It is, Arya confirmed. And I'm going to need that diplomatic shuttle prepped within the hour. Also, someone should probably arrest this piece of garbage before he bleeds out. Or don't. I'm flexible. The officer's whiskers twitched the Felinar equivalent of a grim smile. I think we can let Station Medical take their time responding to this particular emergency. Arya nodded and turned to leave. But Vexthar's voice, weak and rasping, called out behind her, Human. Why? Why risk yourself? For one cub that is not even your species. She paused, glancing back over her shoulder. Because someone has to. Because the strong don't get to prey on the weak just because they can. Because every child deserves to go home. Her eyes hardened. And because fuck you, that's why. The crowd parted for her as she walked toward the docking bays, Kiro secure in her arms. Behind her, Vexthar finally lost consciousness, his trafficking days permanently ended by a human who decided that today, in this moment, someone needed to care. That was the thing about humans that the galaxy kept learning, over and over again. They didn't ask if something was their problem. They didn't calculate the odds or worry about the consequences. When they saw something wrong, they fixed it, even if it meant breaking a few arms in the process. Especially then,